All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to everybody here. Welcome to everybody watching. It is 5:05 right now, and we are going to begin the City of Glendale Historic Preservation Commission meeting for July 17th. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, and AT&T Uverse, Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition, HD in parentheses, on the city webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, iOS, and Android devices using a free app called Cablecast and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. Call 818-548-4013 for program schedules. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have any question about matters on the agenda or requests for assistance, please contact the city clerk at 818-548-2090 during the regular business hours. Please turn off all cellular phones while inside the meeting location. Okay, I'm going to put mine in airplane mode, guess we'll do roll call.
Okay, thank you, Chair Paul. Commissioner Bartanian?
Here.
Commissioner Cusack?
Here.
Commissioner Durham?
Here.
Chair Paul?
Here.
Thank you so much, and let there be known that there is a quorum tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. Agenda item 2, reports regarding posting of agenda. The agenda for the July 17th, 2025 regular meeting of the Glendale Historic Preservation Commission, which is this meeting, was posted on July 14th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside of City Hall. Good to know. Okay, on to the next item. Agenda item 3. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a comment on the minutes.
Okay.
I read them, and item 3 has a misspelling. Commissioner Bartanian's name is misspelled, I think with an M instead of an N.
Well, we got it right 1 out of 2 times.
Yes, the first.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, 1 out of 2 is
We'll
good.
Thank you. Thank you for catching that. What is the proper spelling?
It's correct on the other 2 points, Bartanian with an N.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner Durham, for catching that error, and I guess that'll be noted.
Yes,
Okay.
that'll be noted, and then we'll
Corrected.
correct that.
Right. All right, thank you so much. Otherwise, the minutes are approved. Do you approve the minutes
Yes.
otherwise? Okay, fantastic. Okay. Agenda item 4, which is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items for oral communication. It looks like we have some folks here. Welcome. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. So these are going to be the non-agendized items. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Glendale Historic Preservation Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. So it looks like I have 1 speaker card for oral communications, and that is Alan Dish. Mr. Dish, would you please come up? You have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, Honorable Chair, Mr. Paul, committee members, Mr. J. Platt, and staff, Mr. Durham. Good evening. My name is Alan Dish. After some introductory points, I would like to talk about some trends I'm noticing in suburbia with renovations. But I want to greet, of course, the new committee members who have joined, because if I may say that there's very few things in life I look more forward to than historic preservation, and I'm quite sincere in that statement. So thank you for having me. First, I am Armenian American, born here in LA. Why do I mention that? Because I think it will be relevant to the discussion. You know, we are a community, kind of a city within the city. Like, because I grew up in it, I noticed there's a certain distance, let's say, the community has towards government or in general. You know, keep a proper distance. Of course, the council may be predominantly Armenian American, but I think that's another topic. Middlemen and so on, this kind of idea of being merchants and so on and so on. So let me say what I'm noticing in suburbia is this new aesthetic of remodeling, which I've mentioned before, which is going on, of kind of the above mentioned, Mr. Durham calls them HGTV style remodeling, you know, kind of smooth aesthetic, monotone, apparently minimalist. It's partly the Fortress LA aesthetic, I would say, you know, smart homes, advanced security, LED lights. What interests me is, of course, the erasure, let's say, that is going on in that process, because, okay, at a certain point, especially you on the historic committee, you have to make a certain decision, like how much, where do you draw the line? Because although we may not think of LA or San Fernando Valley as being historic, it was at some point called like America's suburb. And there is a guy, conservative, but he makes some intelligent points. Steven Sinker, I think is his name. He wrote an article in American Conservative who asks this question: why is it that so many post-Soviet, but not only, he includes also Jews, Persians, Russians, Armenians, have settled in San Fernando Valley? And he says that it's based on this first ethics of privacy and seclusion, like it was a common destination for Jews, Catholics, celebrities who wanted privacy, you know. And he says that these groups, minorities who have been, let's say, persecuted, whatever, that they have, they fit perfectly, he says, within this San Fernando Valley, as opposed to San Gabriel Valley, which he says was based more on a community ethic. Okay, let me go on though, because growing up, the main contestation, which condensed a lot of issues in Glendale, was so-called mansionization. Is that my time? Because it says 3 minutes on my... Okay, sorry. Thank you, no. Mansionization, which entailed houses becoming larger, but it also had an aesthetic, I think, baggage to it, which was Mediterranean kitsch, you know. Greek statues, columns, sometimes lions, this Middle Eastern style. One Armenian critic calls it ostentatious Byzantinism and Levantine mercantilism. So, but my ironic, maybe, statement, there's a bitter truth to it, that these new remodelings that are going on, in a way, it makes me, at least, nostalgic for the old style, you know. What was once an innovation is maybe today becoming historic. I mean, those, let's say, palaces. What I want to conclude with is that, basically, the paradox I see is that, on the one hand, suburbia offers the ethics of conservative, kind of traditional, single-family lifestyle, but with these new remodelings, it's like based in a kind of hyper-modern aesthetics, which is at the same time inviting, but also saying, like, don't come too close, you know. So this is all I'm saying. There are these trends that I notice. I don't have a overarching theory, but it's kind of these working observations. I had more points, of course, but that's life. I have to stop. If I may open up, you are welcome to ask 1 or 2 questions.
May I ask a question?
Commissioner Cusack?
First of all, I love that phrase, Fortress LA aesthetic. Did you come up with that?
No. I've been doing a lot of reading. Mike Davis, who passed away, he coined that phrase, I believe. He's a historian. Yeah.
That was very good. And could you say again the name of the author that the article, wrote
It's,
the article you're referencing?
Steve Sinker, I believe, is his name. It might be Steven. He was big in the 2000s, I believe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, no. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for being here, and I think some of your observations are very perceptive. I think it's interesting how, with suburbanization, in one sense, you have the old building stock that you had before, and then you have this trend towards something extremely minimalist, where you have, cute, almost in some parts of the city, cute buildings being completely gutted with the gray wood floors and painted black or whatever. But then also, as you mentioned, with the sort of palace aesthetic, you have one thing becoming more minimalist and one thing becoming very elaborate and almost Baroque or Byzantine. And I think it's fascinating how there's these two different paths, one very ornamental and one very minimalist.
Yes, and if I just may add one personal comment. I'm kind of going through the same process, at least my parents are remodeling, not the house, but certain rooms in the house, And it's, again, this aesthetic, so it's also a personal conflict I'm facing, how to preserve the past while accepting the new. Thank you.
Thank you for giving it thought. Do we have any other oral communication? Phone calls?
No phone calls as
Phone
of now.
calls.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to close agenda item 4. Oral communications are closed. Okay, agenda item 5. Any board or commission member comments? Chair
Hi.
Durham. Commissioner Durham.
Thank you, Chair Paul. On May 31st, I attended a Milsac seminar. It was held at the Wyrick residence in Pasadena. This was a Calvin Straub early post and beam house. Calvin Straub taught at USC and later formed with two of his students, I think, Buff Straub and Hinsman.
Buff. I think it was Buff and Hensman, and then it became Buff, Straub, and Hensman, or the other way around. I don't know. Can't remember.
And that seminar on the Mills Act was sponsored by the Society of Architectural Historians, the Southern California chapter. Commissioner Head also attended, and Jay Platt was there as well. And also in May, I attended a tour in Glendale of 5 Tudor-style homes. It was sponsored by the Glendale Historical Society. And the Society also presented a really excellent lecture prior to the tour one night on the history of Tudor architecture. And now I know how to distinguish between a Gothic arch and a Tudor arch. And one more thing, on Saturday, August 9th at 2 p.m. at the Brand Library Auditorium, the Glendale Historical Society is presenting a workshop about the Glendale Register and Mills Act contracts. Their website states, I didn't know this, that this presentation on Mills Act and register properties, that our commission is a co-sponsor. Is that true, Jay? I mean, that's what their website says.
In the past, we have worked with them. They haven't asked us this year.
And if we are a co-sponsor.
In spirit, yeah, sure, why
Yeah,
not?
well, if we were to be an official co-sponsor, does that mean commissioners should plan to attend or
No.
not
things like-
necessarily?
Things like that are always voluntary. Yeah, I'll check on that.
Okay.
I looked at the notice, I didn't notice the co-sponsorship, but years ago we did. so-
That's right at the end of their blurb.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Okay, so on to new business. Agenda item 7A. Incarnation Church, 1001 North Brand Boulevard. Advisory design review of proposed parish center and related site alterations. PDR hyphen 004125 2024. All right. Do I read the project description, or staff, are you going to do a presentation now, or where do we want to begin?
Yeah, there'll be a staff presentation, then team from the church presentation. So
Wonderful.
before we do the staff presentation, I wanted to just, since this is the first advisory review that the commission has done in terms of design review, just kind of, aren't really ground rules, but just establish why we're doing this. Basically, at staff level, the Incarnation campus has been identified as a potential historic resource. It's never been officially surveyed. I think to many eyes, including my own, it clearly is a beautiful historic campus with several really striking buildings. And so when something like this comes to us, it's a staff option to bring this to the commission for advisory review. It will be heard again in, I'm not sure exactly when, but soonish, by the Design Review Board. So what you're basically doing is providing a historic preservation-based opinion that can help inform the DRB's decision-making for the project. As such, nothing that you say is binding on the project or on the team or on the outcome of the design, but hopefully if you have any issues, concerns, or thoughts, hopefully they'll be addressed, listened to, incorporated if needed, and then they'll certainly be relayed to DRB in the staff report. So as an advisory, it's not, you know, an official decision, but we are going to ask you to vote. And this is something you haven't done that much since we have so many new commissioners, but you basically have three possible decisions. You can approve, recommend that the project be approved. That means you pretty much like everything you see, don't have any major issues or comments to make. If you like it pretty well, but you think, oh, there could some tweaks that maybe could make it better, you can do what's called an approval with conditions. And the third option isn't really available in advisory, but just so you know what that third one is, it's called return for redesign, which means that the problems that the commission has with the project are significant enough that you're going to give guidance and provide conditions for the project team to kind of follow if they choose to, but you want to see it again. That wouldn't be appropriate tonight. We're not going to ask them to come back to HPC. Staff supports this project pretty strongly, so I don't know that you'll have any desire for that possible outcome. So think about it in terms of whether you like it as is, or if you have any thoughts about conditions that could be recommended to DRB. And unless you have questions about that process, Alan Lamberg, our colleague, is making his HPC debut. He's the case planner for this, and take it away.
Thank you, Chair Paul, and my colleague, Principal Planner Jay Platt, and my other colleague, Planner Ani Naskanian. Good evening, Commission members, Bartanian, Head, Durham, and Cusick, and good evening, members of the public. My name is Alan Lamberg. I am the case planner for this project. The application under consideration is indeed an advisory design review pertaining to the Incarnation Parish Master Plan at 1001 North Brand Boulevard, and the case number for reference PDR 004125-2024. My presentation will provide a bird's eye view of this project and outline the findings of fact or determination of compatibility, and the applicant will detail the specifics of the master plan. The proposal here will demolish the detached garage and second floor dwelling unit, which we believe is not historically, it's not historically significant, this garage. And then to construct the parish assembly hall with a covered arcade, a small addition to the parish office, and other site improvements, including shade structures, courtyard, reduction of the east parking lot with landscaping, and to screen a cargo storage container in the west parking lot. Now, again, as my colleague Jay Platt had mentioned, that we're looking at this advisory design review, that we welcome your input for this, because staff identified 4 buildings on the parish campus to be potential historic resources. That's the 1937 classical PWA modern style elementary school auditorium, and the 1950s era late modern style church building, and the vernacular modern style rectory and parish office buildings. This project qualifies as a Class 1 existing facilities because the project involves minor additions and accessory improvements to existing buildings. Also, Class 3 new construction because the new parish center is under 10,000 square feet total. Class 31 historic resource rehabilitation for minor facility modifications that preserve historic integrity with no impact on eligible historic structures. As you can see, the project is located just north of downtown in the northwest neighborhood of Glendale, bounded by Brand Boulevard, Glen Oaks, Central Avenue, and partly Dryden Street. In the campus overview and photos, I find it interesting that how religious institutions and cities shape each other. Imagine just 100 years ago, this was an agricultural land just north of the Arroyo Verdugo, and Incarnation Parish first held services in a home fronting Brand Boulevard as trolleys rolled by, and then a church hall facing Central Avenue. And then in 1937, this parochial school was constructed here and still stands today. Notable architect Jean Verge Sr. designed it, and a decade later, with additions to this school and this parish convent, which was later converted to an office building that you see today, and the rectory, and finally, the Church of the Incarnation. This overview locates where the office addition is and the location of this detached garage apartment that will be demolished and the location of the new parish center. Let's see what we got. And here we see that is a location of the, oh yeah, here we go, plans. Okay, so the applicant will get into more detail about the plans, but we just wanted to show you photos of the buildings to be modified. Again, parish office, the rear facade, that is the location of the 100 square foot addition, which mostly involves providing restrooms particularly. And that's the garage apartment proposed for demolition. As you can see, it is indeed detached and behind the rectory and beside the church. It basically contains like four spaces for vehicles, and then there's an apartment above. And then this is the area in the parking lot, in the east parking lot, where the proposed parish center and campus improvements will be located. Yes, there's the site plan existing and proposed. The applicant will go into more detail about the master plan components that you will see shortly. Determination of compatibility, the staff report that you found online outlines this in 3 ways. Site planning, which develops where development, just for, and I'm going to read this for the public's benefit, site planning involves development where it considers the natural site features, the topography, the trees and drainage, along with placement, landscaping, hardscape, and parking. Mass and scale, that's where projects should align with the surrounding building scale, creating harmony without direct intimidation. And lastly, design detail, where we need to see consistent materials and thoughtful detailing across all sides that enhance character and ensure a cohesive design. Now, I'm not going to read all this on the screen, but these are the findings that we have for this project. I'm just going to summarize it in a brief paragraph here. The site planning focuses on compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood in the northwest area, Glendale. The new campus additions are respectfully set back. The open spaces are enhanced with thoughtful landscaping, and driveways are reconfigured off a Brand Boulevard for smoother traffic. A dedicated pedestrian path will connect the new parish center, supported by decorative paving at key entrances. And environmentally, the plan preserves mature trees, introduces drought-tolerant landscaping, and reduces runoff. All mechanical equipment will be carefully screened, including backflow preventers, to maintain a cohesively and visually appealing site. As for mass and scale, the new parish center complements the scale of existing campus buildings, and it also features an arcade that gently bridges old and new architecture. A modest rear addition to the parish office maintains the existing massing and ensures minimal visual impact on the site and neighborhood. As for design and detail, the new construction respects the campus's architectural language through matching materials and roof styles, creating a cohesive look without intimidation. We have brick veneer and GFRC panels that elevate the design quality, and there are transparent facades that foster openness and interaction, while decorative paving unifies outdoor spaces with patterns tailored for their use. Now, for the Secretary of Interior Standards for rehabilitation, this is for the public's benefit, just a quick summary of why we do this. The rehabilitation standards prioritize preserving the building's historic character while allowing for sensitive updates. The use should match original intent or require minimal change. Key features, materials, and craftsmanship should be retained, and repairs favored over replacements. New work must respect the scale and style, remain clearly distinguishable, and sometimes be reversible. Harsh treatments and false historical additions are avoided, and as you can see when you go into detail about these standards, it's really all about authenticity, integrity, and thoughtful design. And as for the findings in this project, the rehabilitation honors the site's historic religious use and preserves its architectural character. No defining characters are removed, and new construction is clearly contemporary, yet compatible. Demolition is limited to non-significant structures, and additions and new construction, like the Parish Center, reflect the campus's style without imitation. The craftsmanship remains protected. We see elements and scale and materials that ensure architectural integrity, and all new elements are designed to be reversible if necessary, safeguarding historic integrity for the future. Public comments, there were no public comments received for this case, and other city departments have generally included comments that are typically recommended for sometimes standard conditions of approval, which are imposed on similar projects. So given all the information presented here and in the staff report, and with the recommended conditions of approval, the staff recommends design review be approved, and we welcome your input. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other staff comments right now? Okay. So I open it up to the public? And so it looks like I have one speaker card, and then do we have any phone calls on this item?
No phone calls as
No
of now.
phone calls, okay. So Neil Munsell of Pica Sullivan Architects, will you please come up and give your presentation? How much time does Neil have?
I believe it's 15 minutes total for the entire applicant team.
Let's not worry about time, we're good.
Right, we're
Okay.
good.
If you want to change the order.
Yes, I think Father Rodell also filled out
Okay.
a card. He's just going to give a
Oh.
brief introduction.
I don't have a card for him, but that's fine, okay. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Father Rodell Balagtas, and I am the pastor of Incarnation Church here in Glendale. I've been a pastor for the past 6 years. It's an honor to be with you today as we reach this hearing milestone as part of our entitlement process, a step that brings us closer to a vision years in the making. In 2023, we began our master planning journey with Pica and Sullivan Architects, guided by a singular goal: to create a campus that reflects and serves the evolving needs of our faith, community, our parishioners, and our students. Our vision is rooted in our deep connection to the city of Glendale and the legacy we built together over nearly a century. Our faith is centered around creation of community, to worship, to gather, to educate, and to socialize. This master plan allows us to meet the needs of our campus community that includes the school and the parish, and introduces a new parish center as its centerpiece. Neil Munsell, project architect with Pica and Sullivan, will walk you through our plan that honors our legacy into the future. As we look ahead to our centennial celebration in October 2027, we do so with gratitude, purpose, and commitment to serving this city of Glendale for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Munsell.
Thank you, Father Rodell, and thank you, Alan, for your presentation and all the guidance you've provided to our team throughout this process. My name is Neil Munsell. I'm with Pica Sullivan Architects. I'm the project architect for the work proposed at Incarnation Parish. I'd like to thank you, everyone on the commission, as well as Glendale staff and any of the public that are following along, for the opportunity to present this project to you and walk you through the proposed improvements. We believe that this project will be beneficial not just to the community at Incarnation, but also to the larger Glendale community as well. So this evening, we hope to earn your support for this work. So a little bit of history. Incarnation Catholic Church was founded in 1927. 10 years later, the parish school was founded. A period of growth occurred, which resulted in new buildings constructed in the 50s and 60s. But since then, very little has happened. And in recent years, it became apparent that improvements were necessary for the church and school to continue their missions. So a master plan was developed, and the goals for the project include providing this multi-purpose gathering space for the community, providing new classroom spaces to enrich the school curriculum, upgrades to existing facilities and utilities, the provision for new useful outdoor hardscape and landscape areas, improved parking and campus circulation, and of course all of this to be accomplished while maintaining the existing character and integrity of the campus. As Alan showed you previously, here is the existing site plan. So you can see that on the west side of the campus, we have the elementary school and pre-K building, as well as their play yard. And on the west side of the campus, on the east side of the campus are the church facilities, the church itself, rectory, the existing detached garage, and the parish offices. Each has its own parking lot that serve it, but there is flow between the two as things exist. What we propose entails several phases of work. The cornerstone of this is the new parish hall, which you can see there on the border between the two halves of the site. Additional phases, as Alan had previously outlined, include the creation of public restrooms, and that would be in the northern part of the parish office building where we show the 100 square foot, approximately 100 square foot addition. Those restrooms would serve the hall itself. Future renovation of the interior of that building would occur later. There are campus-wide utility upgrades that entail consolidating electrical service, removing overhead power lines, and running all of that infrastructure underground. Improvements to the east parking lot include the addition of drought-tolerant landscaping, lighting, and the provision for future EV charging. Additional outdoor spaces are provided. This includes landscaping and shade structures. There would be improvements to the schoolyard, which you see that sort of graphic treatment on the ground. And then an interior renovation of the rectory is proposed. Now, in the drawing that we have here, we show an addition to that rectory. But subsequent to the submission, we have determined that that addition is not necessary. So we would not be proposing to add onto the existing rectory, only a renovation of the interior. Here you see a rendering from Brand Boulevard showing the new proposed hall in the context of the existing buildings. I should say that Pika Sullivan has a history of working on historically sensitive projects. And philosophically, there is a strong belief in being both truthful to an existing fabric on a site, but also the needs of constituency in the near and long terms as they modernize. As such, design is approached with an intentionality about integrating new work within the existing context and honoring both. At Incarnation, a palette of materials is utilized to harmonize with the existing structures, and the scale and form of new construction is responsive to the existing character of the campus. The proposed hall, which is a new ground-up construction of approximately 8,500 square feet, that includes the exterior arcade, is executed with clean lines, simple massing, and a lack of ornamentation, all of which hearken to the existing campus architecture. It further integrates with the existing campus through scale, architectural forms, color, and material choices. And speaking of material choices, we actually have some material boards and samples that my colleague Anne will convey to you. You guys can pass those around as you like. The hall building itself accommodates a large gathering space of approximately 3,500 square feet. It introduces 2 new classroom spaces and has additional support spaces, including a kitchen, restroom, storage, and an office. The building is sited such that it is pulled back from the Brand frontage. That allows us to create a public space of garden and courtyard adjacent to the street and rectory. Additionally, that creates a plaza with the buildings to the south. The design is organized around the large volume of that meeting room. But with such a large volume, there's a risk that the building can become too massive. To mitigate this, the height of the building has been limited to 33 feet approximately, which is in keeping with adjacent structures. Additionally, an arcade, which wraps to the east and south facades and has a sloped roof which matches the existing roof forms of the neighbors, helps to bring things down to a human scale. The scale is additionally influenced by a series of one-story construction wrapping the north and west sides of the building. Along those facades, we utilize changes in plane and changes in material to create a human scale and mitigate the building feeling too massive. The building is situated centrally. This allows the west portion of the building to be accessed directly from the school, whereas the church functions can all be accessed from the east. Architectural details, such as the canopies over entryways and glazing systems, provide a consistent material detailing element. The materials for the project include cement plaster, brick, and asphalt, shingle roof, all of which already exist on campus in the existing buildings. So they echo what's already there. But we've integrated new materials, GFRC, which is used for cladding, column covers, and additional details, as well as modern glazing systems, help harmonize the existing campus while acknowledging the newness of this building. The color selections for the hall, which include soft earth tones, are intended to align with the existing colors on the campus without directly mimicking them. Here you see a view of the south and the plaza area created with the existing buildings and the new. In this image, you can also see that there is a large opening under the arcade. This allows the interior space of the meeting hall to open out into the courtyard and expand the communal function of the hall into that outdoor space. Here are some views demonstrating the hall functions. We have classrooms and in this case, it's a banquet setting, although the meeting hall itself would be used for a variety of different functions. Outside of the hall, on the left, we have the existing rectory garage. That is the building that's proposed to be demolished. And then on the right, you'll see the existing parish offices. And as you look at that image, you can see there's a small shed roof. Where that shed roof occurs is where we propose to do this addition. It would just infill that little corner of the building. The existing facade would be extended in each direction, and the roof line, the pitched roof line, would also be extended out over that new addition. I would also add that neither the rectory demolition nor the work on the parish offices is visible from the street. These are all inward-facing elements. In that image on the left, you can also see a large and rather unpleasant-looking power pole. That is one of the ones that would be removed. So while that scope does not have any direct bearing on the existing campus buildings, we believe that it does add overall to the quality of the campus experience and architecture. Another priority of the project is to activate the outdoor space for the campus. Court and garden, which you can see in the forefront there, located to the east of the new hall, would serve multiple functions. It would provide a pedestrian-friendly entry point to the campus. It would serve as a buffer between the street and parking areas and the hall itself, screening street noise, but also screening the hall activity from the street. It would serve as a place of quiet reflection at times or as a gathering space at others. Decorative paving, and I think a sample was included in what we passed around, would be utilized to improve the court and plaza and sidewalk or driveway areas. And as you saw in an earlier image, there would be painting done on the ground at the children's play area. The east parking lot would be reworked. As you can see in this image, there would be new landscaping introduced, additionally lighting, improved access to accessible parking, and the addition of infrastructure for EV charging stations, which we believe results in a more usable and aesthetically pleasing parking area. In closing, it is our belief that the work that we've proposed honors the historic character of the campus through thoughtful design and honors the historic role of Incarnation within the Glendale community by expanding its ability to engage that community. We hope that you'll support this project, and thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions you might have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other speakers on this item?
I believe so.
No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Guess, shall I open it up? Staff?
Yes, and Chair Paul, I just want to mention that there are no callers at this time.
No callers. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to open it up for discussion between us. Anybody care to begin?
May we ask questions before we have our discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I believe that's fine.
Should I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Mr. Munsell, may I ask you a couple of questions?
Of course. Feel free to come up and speak into the mic, too.
And I apologize, because in our packet, there were inconsistencies. You know, first it looked like, oh, you're adding to the rectory. Then it's like, no, it won't. But that it's still referenced with the deletions of the addition. It's still referenced the remodel. And is that going to be totally interior remodeling, or will it change any of the facade of the rectory?
As it's planned, it would be interior. However, if changes were proposed to the exterior, we would assume that we would have to come back before this body, or, you know, we would be working through the proper processes to make sure that's approved.
Thank you, because I wasn't sure if any doors or windows were going to be altered or replaced in the remodel.
Possible that some of the window fenestration would be modified, but of course, we would present that for approval.
Let me find my note here. There was a document attached called the Master Plan Narrative. I don't know, who prepares that? Is
The
it
firm
staff
prepared
or?
that.
I'm sorry?
Well, there are kind of multiple versions. We've prepared a version, but I think Alan has also prepared a version for his documentation.
Okay. So there's some discrepancies in there that, you know, before it goes to Design Review Board, it might be nice to remove the inconsistencies in the packet. One of the things in the master plan narrative under Project D, which is the new parish hall, says, building height is in keeping with adjacent existing buildings and roof materials, parentheses, Spanish tile, end parentheses, match campus precedent. And yet on the plans, I see asphalt shingles for the new parish hall.
Yeah, that was an error, and it should have been asphalt shingle all along in that document, so we can clean that up.
The church roof itself is,
Asphalt shingle as well.
oh, I couldn't tell from the site visit if it was tile.
No, it's asphalt shingle as well.
And is the height of the parish hall roof basically the same height as the rectory roof?
Slightly taller, I believe. I think the rectory is at about 30 or so feet, and we're at 33 with.
But it's very similar.
Yes. There are some other images that might demonstrate that better. I think this one gives you a pretty good sense. You've got the rectory there on the left-hand side, and obviously the parish hall in the middle.
And on the paint colors, when I did or material colors palette, when I did the site visit, it's really striking because, well, it looks to me like all the existing buildings use the same sort of tricolor palette, which I would generically describe as cream color for the stucco, and then where there's stucco accenting or, window trim, there's a dark tan, and then there's also a light tan used in different areas. And I understand this is going to coordinate with that, but is there any reason not to use the same colors that are on the other 4 buildings?
It's something we could consider. When we planned it out, we wanted to be a little bit deliberate about setting this building apart from the kind of historical buildings. So we wanted to keep it in the same family of colors, but let it be a bit distinct. Now, where we propose an addition to the existing rectory office, in that case, obviously everything would be painted to match the existing building color. But for the new hall, it was determined it's better to keep it a little bit unique and separate from the existing structures.
Yeah, it's because the new hall definitely is going to read, as a new addition to the campus. So I don't think anybody could mistake it for trying to pass a historical, era. I just thought maybe the whole campus would retain more of a consistent feel if the same colors were used. But, that can be argued either way. While I look for other comments, do you have anything?
Yes, Commissioner Durham. I'm sorry, Commissioner Cusack.
So I actually went by today, and slightly different, but the church was under significant construction. Are you overseeing that? Do you know about the church construction?
The undergrounding of the
diff-
utilities,
This-
that work has begun, but
The church is a different project.
I think you're
Think
thinking
about the
of
church on Central.
Methodist Church, the
Well,
former
no, well,
Methodist.
it was an expansion of the Incarnation Church, completely different project
Okay.
by the Armenian Archdiocese.
Okay, my apologies.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Unrelated to the historic kind of nature of our questions, on the parking in front of the property, have you removed parking spots there?
that's correct. So the total number of parking spaces will be reduced. I can show you here. So that you can see the existing on the left there, the E small parking lot, and then what we propose. We went through a lengthy process relative to State Bill AB 2097. It was determined through a series of traffic studies and so forth that there was no increased burden on parking, and that even after a reduction in the total number of campus-wide spaces, the community would still be served.
Yeah, I like the fact that on the street side, it looks open now, because this is a commute I take every morning and every day. So on Sunday, people have trouble getting out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because they have blind spots.
Exactly,
So removing the parking spots is a great
They'll be
feature.
wider, and they'll be further from the corner, and there will just be 2, rather than, I think right now there's 3 or 4, and they're very narrow and kind
Right.
of hard to judge where you belong.
Okay, I have go ahead.
you go ahead.
Okay, all right. So just I have a couple of questions, and then we will get back to Commissioner Durham in a minute. Will you please show an image of go over one? I think, yeah, that works. A couple of things. The north portion of the new parish hall is it almost looks minimalist in this design, little container-like almost. Could you comment on the sort of intention or reasoning for that design element, or the rationale, the reason behind it, the rational thinking behind it?
Yeah, partially, it was deliberate in the sense of creating one-story element to hug the taller volume of the meeting hall, which was essentially just to mitigate the mass of that double height space. And, we're trying to be relatively conservative. We don't have an enormous budget, so keeping it simple and efficient was important. We tried to make it a little bit more interesting by wrapping different materials around and changing the plane of the facade in order to provide a bit more variety and a human scale to those components.
What's going to be going on inside that portion of the building?
So where you see the sort of 3 windows there, that will be a catering kitchen. Just beyond that, behind the next sort of colored panel is a restroom. Then there's a secondary entrance to the structure. And then beyond that is just a storage room.
Okay.
As we turn the corner, if I can just quickly show you,
Sure.
Here we go. So as we turn that corner, then we come to the 2 new classrooms.
Okay.
And then finally, at the far corner is where the office would be located.
Okay, thank you. Will you please go back to yes, this works fine. The fountain in the front, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so these are early renderings.
Okay.
And at this stage, there is no intention to build a large fountain or sculpture element. So since these renderings were done, the current scheme proposes more of just kind of an open gathering space in the center. And to the north and east would be planting areas like you see there, but they would have a little bit more volume, taller trees to create more of a screen. But yeah, basically the concept of a large fountain or sculpture has been omitted.
Okay, thank you very much. And this is the decorative tile that would be on the walkway, is that
Correct.
right? Okay. Looks a little bit like concrete to me, like
It is concrete,
gray.
it's just- yeah.
It's a very, I don't know if I'd call it decorative, but it will do the job, I guess. Let's see, what else? I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to double check. There's no removal of the pre-existing palm trees that are along Brand, right? Okay, so you just had these shorter ones in because that's what the program allowed for your,
We are adding new trees, as I just described, on the sort of border of that
Okay.
plaza area, but additionally, we are adding new street trees.
Okay.
2 mesa oaks will be added to
Okay.
provide shade trees
on Brand?
on Brand,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
And
but
that's-
the palms that are there now stay?
They'll be
Yeah,
preserved and
okay.
protected, correct.
Okay, great. Let's see if there's anything else. Commissioner Durham, did you have anything else right now?
Just a minor thing. On the arcade for the parish hall, when I was looking on my computer, the plans were quite small, and it looked almost as if those columns were round, but I think now I see that they're square.
They're square, yeah.
Okay. Which, when I thought they were round, I thought it didn't quite jive there.
Yeah, understandable. No, the intention is for them to be square. I think, let me go the other direction. Maybe, this might be a better view to get a sense for how that arcade sort of wraps the building and the rendering of those columns. And those would be wrapped in GFRC panels.
And the color of the concrete panels is,
So
will
the-
that, well,
So, if I may?
Yeah.
So the column wraps would be this color.
Could you turn a microphone?
Oh, go ahead and take this.
Thanks. Okay, so here we have 2 types of GFRC. This grayer tone would be used as an accent in some places at the top of walls, like a wall cap, but also would be used for the column cladding and for a field of facade on the on the west facade. This other color would only be used as a wall cap where we have brick walls. So that would be those 2 together. And then this is the decorative paving.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you. Thank
I
you.
don't think I have any other questions. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, I have some, anything else? Okay. I have some I have some questions for staff about this. So, and first of all, I think, thank you so much. I think we're finished, and until we're not, and we have more questions for you, then you just come back. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I need to mention before I forget, in full disclosure, I received a phone call from neighborhood Glendale Preservation Advocate Francesca Smith on Sunday. She's someone I've known for quite a while anyway. We were catching up on a variety of things, but this project did come up. And so I just, in full disclosure, I want to let everybody know that she had a couple of comments, questions, which I think were points well taken. She had two. One of them was, yes.
I believe that her comments were not about this project, unless there's something you didn't mention. Okay.
One of them
I just
is.
want to make it very clear.
Okay,
So-
one of them was about a past, something from the past. So I'll focus on the one that is. And I think it's a good point, and it's something I wanted to ask about anyway, and I think it's more of a question for staff. I feel like the landscaping that is there now with the lawn and the rose bushes is kind of a very typical landscaping that you would see for, resources like this from this era. And I want to know if the drought-tolerant landscaping is a mandate, or if that was just something that the parish wanted to undertake.
I can answer that question. Glendale Municipal Code requires, and as a reflection of the state mandate, that because we're in a sort of a drought situation in this area in California, that whenever there's new landscaping for a project such as this, then we are required to have either very low or low water consumption type plants, and that is why we have to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jay, would that, or maybe you know too, what's your first name again?
Alan,
Alan.
A-L-A-N.
It's Alan?
Alan,
We
yeah.
have three Allens. We have three Allens in the room,
All spelled differently.
all spelled differently. Okay, that'll be easy to remember. If this property is being treated as a presumed historical resource, does that have any bearing on what he just mentioned in terms of the need to do drought-tolerant landscaping? If the landscaping that's there now was considered a character-defining feature?
No, we allow all designated or eligible properties to install drought-tolerant landscaping.
But do you allow those properties to maintain their landscaping as is if that was a
We
character-defining?
would not unless it was identified as significant in the designation report for those, and we've never identified lawns or things like that
Okay,
as significant.
as character-defining?
It's usually significant trees, for example, might be identified if they weren't the 3 protected species
Okay.
that the city has.
Okay.
But that's how it's generally worked.
Okay, thanks. And another question for Jay or Ani. This is being treated as a presumed historical resource, or potential historical resource, even though it hasn't been formally surveyed yet. Is your perception of this as a potential historical resource, are you perceiving this as a small district? And under what criterion of eligibility do you see this as a potential historical resource?
We're looking at it as a single campus with multiple buildings. There may be some discrepancy in public views on this subject, but I don't see this as a district.
Okay. And under what criteria, design or social significance?
It
or-
could be 1 and 3, probably.
I'm sorry?
Criteria 1 and 3,
1 and 3,
probably.
okay. Let's see here. The building that's proposed for demolition, your staff would know this, or the parish will know this, isn't there it's not just a garage, there's an apartment at the top that was for a priest, right? Okay, so that was built in 1951, the same year as the other buildings. Do we know if it was it the same architect as the other buildings? Do we know? Yes. And what was that architect's name again?
George, how do you pronounce it? Verge?
Gene Verge
Or
Jr.
Gene Verge Jr.
Gene Burge Jr. So the building was built the same year, and it was by the same architect. how, if it's perceived, what is the rationale for not seeing that building as a contributing element to the potential historical resource?
The picture of the building is the rationale for not seeing it as a contributing historic resource. It doesn't have any of the design detailing, the design quality. It was clearly built as an ancillary building to the larger rectory, which has datum lines and mixtures of materials and window framing. The garage apartment is completely utilitarian.
Is there a photo, do we have handy of the, I saw a photo of the garage side, but is there a photo of the front of the little apartment garage building? Okay. Okay, that's it right there. That's it. That's the building in the bottom picture that's going to be demolished, right?
In both pictures, you see there are 3 tuck-under spaces in the upper left picture with the apartment above. And then you see on the bottom picture the stairway to the apartment. Does have 2 kind of pipe columns. There are others. There's more interesting use of pipe columns on the rectory.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, obviously similar, but kind of a stripped-down version.
Okay. Okay.
And I think also important is that you really can't see that structure from the street.
You can a little bit.
Yes, but it's not prominent like the rectory or the school and the office on Glen Oaks. I mean, you don't pass by it on the street.
Right. No, I agree with you. So, but wonderful. Okay. I think those were my questions. Commissioner Durham.
This is just curiosity, but I think when I was looking at the plans, the new hall does not include, other than a small restroom back by the kitchen, it doesn't include restrooms inside. And my curiosity is, it's only a 100-square-foot addition to the rectory office, and that's enough space to provide restrooms for the new community hall?
Well, to be more clear, so we're adding 100 square feet to the existing rectory office, or sorry, parish office building, but the renovation to introduce the bathrooms would actually encompass about 750 square feet.
Okay.
So what's happening is there's sort of a surgical removal of some of that northern portion of the office building. The new restrooms will go in, and that addition will occur as a part of that work. And then the balance of the building will later be renovated in just interior renovation only.
And when you say surgical removal, you mean interior surgery?
Essentially, yeah. So we're preserving the existing roof, we're preserving every wall that we possibly can, and, you know, shoring it while this new work is installed.
And the east facade, will that change because, I mean, not just where the 100 square foot is being added, but because of the restroom configuration, will the east elevation change? And do you have a picture of that?
We can probably find one in here. So there, you can see just to the right of the circle, there are a few existing windows. The first 2 there would be removed as a part of this new work. Otherwise,
But further south?
further
It
south,
won't change?
no changes. No.
Okay. Thank you.
While you're up here, I have a question for you. What is the walkway material on the campus now? Is it just concrete?
Concrete and asphalt.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Anything over here? Okay. All right. So, I have a couple of thoughts, and I think I want to first mention that I share your concerns with. I feel like the building, this is a very contemporary building on its own, and I would encourage, I think a simple maneuver would be to encourage a palette and possibly some materials that are more compatible with the other buildings there. I don't think, I mean, between this sort of minimalist part on the north and sort of the general form and massing of the whole building, it's obviously a new building. And my thought on this, and because that's all this is today, is that I think you could honor, you could easily honor the other buildings better by just thinking about a palette and maybe some subtle adjustments to materials, but mainly the palette to make it more compatible with those other buildings. It's obvious that this is something different, and I think people who don't even think about architecture most of the time we drive by it would know, they would know that that's a newer building as opposed to these old buildings over here. So I think that's one thought I have. Before this does move forward, as Commissioner Durham pointed out, and as I think you mentioned, it would be good to clean up some of those inconsistencies also. Okay, Commissioner Bartain, did you have a question?
No,
Okay.
it's questions now, not comments.
Huh? Oh, we're just talking.
Our discussion.
Nothing? Okay. Yes.
Well, I'd like to congratulate the parish and the architects, because on the site design, I think, it really maintains the feel of that campus without really affecting any of the other four surrounding structures, and it integrates so well into the site. And so I appreciate that's not always the case when people decide to add a structure. So I think the site planning is excellent. I think the design of the new hall is great. I think with all of the windows and the doors where you just open the wall to the outside and the upper windows, as Chair Paul said, I don't think anybody, regardless of materials or palette, is going to think this is trying to imitate the existing structures. I know that would be something you would want to avoid, is to try to recreate it as if it was built in 1951, but you're not doing that. And what I noticed, particularly when I did the site visit, is much more than the photographs, is so many horizontal elements of the existing buildings. There's a great deal of horizontal emphasis. And banding, stucco banding, highlighted in different colors, either the light tan or the dark tan. And by banding, I mean, stucco that's either recessed from the plane or it's projecting out from the plane. Sometimes there's double banding that it wraps around the base of the church and I think part of the school. There's also the brickwork on some of the buildings. I think it was the office building that has brickwork. So I like the fact that you're including, brick as an element of the new hall. But the material I don't particularly like is the concrete panels, because it's a very contemporary material. I think it looks very contemporary, and there's really nothing like it on any of the existing structures. I mean, I guess my question would be, why not just do stucco, plain stucco planes, or do some banding in terms of elements? But that would be, in my opinion, more compatible with the other buildings. And it doesn't seem like it would really add expense, per se. It would just be a substitution of materials, because, I think the church is such a great example of modern architecture, and the details on the exterior are great. And sometimes you get very plain expanses, and then you get stucco elements and banding and other elements. And I just think, when I look at it, I wonder, why are there these concrete panels instead of just using the stucco that relates to the rest of the campus? And could you bring up the west elevation?
The church or the?
I'm sorry, the new
Oh, yeah.
the new hall.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem, no problem. That's the east, so you want to see west?
That's where the classrooms are? I think there's if I was looking at the right slide, I think there are some brick panels as well as the concrete panel in the center. Was that the?
Yep. Okay.
You're correct, and again, because these renderings are a little bit older, they don't reflect the full extent of where we're proposing the brick to occur now. So if you've looked at the elevations that are part of the drawing submission, you would see that, yes, indeed, there are panels of brick at the kind of edges
Yes.
of that facade, and then in the center, you have the GFRC paneling, and then it alternates between stucco, or stucco alternates in between those different materials.
Right, I was thinking rather than having the concrete panels in the center, I mean, I wouldn't mind just stucco. Or it might
think
be an
it's-
opportunity to do a little bit, I'm not saying you should try to make it look modern, but it might be an opportunity to have a panel where there's some element of variation in the stucco that.
Right.
I'm talking about references to the modern style. I'm not talking about imitation. So I don't
right.
want you to misunderstand my point.
Yeah.
I think some references to the horizontal planes and the stucco banding would be really nice
Those seem very reasonable.
and integrate it more into the campus.
Right, I think Commissioner Durham, do you remember where is the brick elsewhere on the campus? I can't remember.
There's a little bit of brick on the office that used to be
office.
the,
The front of
The convent?
The front of the former convent, I think, has a little.
The front of the former convent, is it facing Brand or?
no, it's
Glen
on
Oaks?
It's in Glen
Little
Oaks.
Glen
Glen
Oaks.
Oaks.
Glen Oaks,
Glen Oaks.
that one, okay, got it, yeah.
I
no.
can't see the control anymore, but if Alan could scroll back to some of the.
Right again?
Oh, okay, here we go.
If you go to the photos,
I'm gonna go all the way back to
There's
some of Alan's.
not a
photos.
lot of it, but it is a nice element of that building.
So there,
Ah,
this is the
right
existing
there.
parish office. You can see some brick accenting there. And additionally, you can see the brick inset
Got
at
it.
the entryway for the existing
Got it.
school.
I like where Commissioner Durham is going with a lot of this, and I would hope that it's not too much of a burden to even, normally when people say it sounds remarkable that we're suggesting stucco, sounds insane, but in this case, it's perhaps there is a creative way to think about it, in a way that helps integrate the materials a little bit. It's just something we're just asking you to explore. Again, this is all just very preliminary.
And this center panel of concrete blocks or panels,
This
yes,
GFRC.
but it introduces this sort of block running bond pattern that really isn't on any of the other structures. I mean, I don't see how it relates to anything on campus. It breaks up the facade.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
But-
there's a way, I'm not going to get in the woods this much with anything else, but I'm wondering if there's a way, if you did something with stucco, to add something that's a little more depth or thickness to that, to play with the planes a little bit by having parts come out, almost like, I've been dealing with Baroque architecture and mannerism a lot lately for other reasons. But, if you think of something almost like a pilaster where it kind of comes out, like there's projection, and maybe that's a way to play, and in fact, the building that's the Methodist church that's being demolished, that almost looks like Robert Stacy Judd. Another project, I'm not going to go into it. It was before my time. But that has, there's, if you could take precedence from other old church buildings close by, and that has a beautiful sense too. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't think I'm familiar with the specific building.
Okay. Well, it's right behind this. Just look at the really nice church being leveled right now. So, but the tower has kind of like steppings almost. And maybe there's a way to play with that with this panel where there's I don't know, but that's.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
If we're concerned about the GFRC panels not being traditional enough, I think adding pilasters and steppings and depth and things probably isn't the best way to go necessarily. I just want to throw this out, but I wanted to ask Mr. Munsell, are you Munsell of the color Munsell?
No, totally different
Totally,
spelling,
I just
but
thought
Spelling,
you meant
okay.
right.
Okay.
a side note. The thought would be maybe, because when you do stucco these days, you don't get these long expanses of stucco wall. You have control joints with reglets all over the place. I think with some EFIS systems, you might be able to get a smoother, planar surface. I'm not positive, but maybe that would get closer to what you're thinking about.
Yeah, okay. But I think, you know, just, I mean, I think just from what Commissioner Durham's been saying, and I think it's just a matter of thinking about materials and palette, and maybe even introducing a little bit of is it like almost like a turquoise color you see elsewhere, you know, on those pipe columns. I mean, that's a really nice pop of color, and it goes really nicely with brick. The sort of, I guess, I don't know if it's a seafoam green or what it is, but, you know, these are just little tweaks and adjustments I think we're asking for here.
Can I see the south elevation of the hall? I just wanted to. I'm not sure you can see it. Mr. Munsell, do you mind, can I just?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But this element reminded me of banding. You know, I mean, in the sense of maybe it could echo more the banding we see on some of the
Could you,
other buildings.
so for us keeping the record, could we describe
Go
that,
ahead and
Mr. Durham?
describe what you're.
Well, I think these are, correct me if I'm wrong, I think these are concrete panels making, I don't know how you want to term, making a surround over the arcade roof, down and over it.
That's correct. So it's essentially an additional plane of material that is outboard of the stucco, the plane of stucco. It wraps up behind the arcade and serves as a sill for the clear story window. So you can kind of see how at this edge, that concrete pops out further.
But I like how that echoes the banding, you know, on some of the other buildings.
Yeah, and maybe this running bond could be revised into more of a band.
I'm just putting it toward the camera. Oh, okay, it's this camera, okay.
The camera's not going to pick that up, but
Okay.
I think I'm hearing what you're talking
You're
about.
hearing what we're saying? Okay.
What
so-
sheet number is it, just so people can refer to the exhibits?
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. A3.03.1.
And it's the bottom drawing, and there is a wraparound banding around the entry bays that looks like it's a larger, more monumental panel, brick-looking panel, slab panel, and that is what Commissioner Durham is talking about in terms of a potential banding, a design tweak to maybe think about some of the other banding elsewhere. So these are, okay. Anything else? Okay. You have some comments?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the palette that you've chosen. I do agree with my colleagues here on the brick. Once he described it, I do agree with it. But I appreciate the comprehensive planning that went into this project. I think the master plan reflects a thoughtful, balanced approach between modernization and historic preservation. The new parish center, the small addition to the parish office, and the landscape improvements, I think, are designed to enhance functionality. The design choices, particularly in materials and massing, demonstrate a sensitivity to the existing architectural styles, which we appreciate. Overall, I support the staff recommendations and believe the conditions set forth will further safeguard the site's historical integrity while allowing, the parish to continue serving its community.
Go ahead.
I forgot to compliment the architect on the use of divided light windows in the new parish hall, which, don't replicate the patterns of the existing buildings. But, when I think of it, if it was just, a huge expanse of glass without having the divisions, it really helps integrate it with the rest of the campus. And so I just wanted to thank you for that, because some people might look and think, well, of course they're divided, but they really didn't have to be divided that way. And you did a great job integrating that without making it look like you're trying to imitate the other windows.
I think it's on the whole also, I want to compliment you. I think this is very sensitively done, and I could tell you all, the parish has put thought into this. So I like the setback. I actually really like the massing of this a lot, especially like the roof elements, the rectangular part, okay, but I really like what I'm seeing here, and I think I love the setback, and I think you've done a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Okay, so shall we, I guess, shall we try to, like, let's maybe draft a little something? Do we need to draft a motion of any kind up here, or?
Well, we need to finalize any conditions that you wanted to put on. So let's start by saying, do you have any concerns with the staff conditions from the staff report?
Staff conditions, so let's see here.
Assume the staff conditions.
You want me
would
to
be-
summarize them real quick? Would it
Yeah.
help if I summarize it?
Sure.
Oh, there they are, okay.
The recommended conditions by staff is to submit revisions to relevant sheets such as the site plan elevations, roof and floor plans to staff before plan check, and that this would be incorporated with the DRB Design Review Board presentation, and then before plan check. The driveway design, just to include or specify decorative paving at the Brand Boulevard entrance. B, to ensure water-efficient landscaping, to use only low or very low water plants, and to include irrigation notes. And C, to screen new mechanical equipment, including backflow preventers. And lastly, to protect and provide for city-owned trees, which is what they were talking about, introducing those 2 new trees on the street. So a lot of just typical technical things, nothing really pertaining to design itself.
Okay, and this is the decorative paving for the driveway? Okay, all right.
And then what we usually do for design review cases or with DRB cases, staff has been listening and taking notes. We try to capture what sound like you're thinking are conditions. So whoever does it, in this case, I think I'll do it. Just usually it's done by the preservation staff for HPC. And then we see if there's consensus on that, and if you need to discuss it further, you go for it, and if not, we just move to the next one. It sounded like there's general consensus about the color palette, bringing it closer to the existing palette on campus. And
I kind of like it to be different, slightly.
okay, all right.
That's my
So and
take on it.
Commissioner Cusack.
I'm thinking about it, and I feel like I could go either way. I tend to lean towards keeping it slightly different.
Yes,
But I don't have strong
staff is okay
feelings
with
on
that
it.
also, but what we'll do when we write up the DRB staff report is say there was a split vote on that issue. So I won't presume to guess on the next one, you just tell us. It sounded like there was some commissioners expressed concern about the GFRC panels, which were creating kind of an ashlar pattern that didn't really fit the campus. So there was a thought to move toward more of a stucco or perhaps an ephes finish to have more smooth planar, planar ANAR surfaces, with the possible introduction of some banding where appropriate to kind of draw from the banding on some of the historic buildings. Is that generally
Yes.
what we heard?
Okay, Commissioner Bartini?
I can agree with that. I mean, yeah.
I agree with that.
I think I agree with that.
Okay.
I
And
do
then
too.
Commissioner Paul, and I think this may have been talking about the banding also, when you were talking about mannerism and Baroque. I don't
Right,
think you want to go
right.
Baroque on this, right?
No, I did not. I want to be, let me
checking.
let me just clarify that I am not proposing any sort of Baroque or Mannerist maneuvers on this building whatsoever. It was really just thinking about, at a certain point in architecture, you started to have depth of plane coming at you or moving forward, and I just thought about thinking about ways you could play with that panel, but that is not intended to be
'Cause they've
There's no
already-
Baroque in this condition.
They've already done that. Some of the brick panels are taller than those plain walls, and so.
But playing with it in a way that where you're taking more direct cues from some of the other buildings.
Okay,
Step-ins.
so those are, so basically, I heard two conditions. One, we have a split vote, and one, we have full support for. Is that accurate?
It sounds
Yes.
sounds like it.
It's a 2-2 split on the ballot, I think.
Right. Plus the staff conditions, 3 of those, I think. So we'll have,
And also, just in terms of the decorative paving, I've been thinking about this and holding this rock. I actually, this to me looks like concrete. It doesn't look like decorative paving, but I think that's okay in this case, because what I wouldn't want is something that's overly, a lot of times in the wrong hands. I think you're fine, but in the wrong hands, if you tell somebody decorative paving, they'll go overboard and do something really crazy. I think this actually works.
just so the commission knows, the zoning code, so the zoning code or design guidelines require decorative paving at the entry point
Okay.
of new driveways. So that's kind of a subtle way to do it
Right.
before transitioning into
it's
another
great.
material.
It looks very gray. This is a very minimalist decorative paving, if it can be called decorative at all, but I still think this is the best. That's why I asked you what covers the ground there now. If this is similar to what's already there, then fine, as opposed to adding something really wild as quote-unquote decorative paving, which is how a lot of other people would perceive that. So I'm actually fine with this. Okay.
Okay, so someone should make a motion to approve with the conditions as stated by staff?
Recommend to DRB.
Recommend, yes, to
Right.
recommend DRB
Yes.
approval with conditions.
I'll make the motion to recommend the approval with new conditions.
I'll second.
Alrighty. So Commissioner Cusack,
Yes, I agree.
Commissioner Durham,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartanian,
Yes.
Chair Paul.
Yes.
The motion to recommend to DRB passes 4-0. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughtful presentation. Good luck.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, let's see here. Oh, we lost Chair Commissioner Durham for a minute. I'm the chair. So I guess we'll just are we going to take a couple-minute break?
If you want to, we just need to tell GTV6 a
that?
5-minute recess?
Let's take a 5-minute recess.
Okay, 5-minute recess, please.
5-minute reset.
you.
We are back after our 5-minute recess. The next item is Agenda Item 7B, and this is 900 Ilianita Avenue, Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application, PMA 0082025. Now, I am going to be leaving. I need to recuse myself because I am the author of this nomination. So I'm gone, and I believe it will be turned over, that you are going to be
There will be
a motion by others.
interim chair,
Okay,
and then we'll go from there.
all right. So I'll see you all next month, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Okay, this is the long goodbye, they call it. Raymond Chandler couldn't have done it better.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Durham as interim chair.
I second.
Wonderful. And now let's take a vote. Commissioner Bartanian,
Yes.
Commissioner Cusack,
Yes.
Commissioner Durham.
Yes.
Wonderful. So we are passing the gavel along to Commissioner Durham, and you are the chair for this item.
Except,
Chair for a day.
except someone stole our gavel, so there's no gavel to pass, so it's being passed symbolically.
Oh, we found.
Oh, you found it.
I just saw it.
Thank you. So item,
Use of power already.
it just goes to your head, you know. Item 7B,
Do we need to make a motion for a vice chair, or is that fine?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we don't,
Okay.
And so again, this is 900 Alameda Avenue, Glendale Register Nomination Mills Act application, PMA-0008-2025. Do we have a staff presentation, Ani?
We do. Thank you so much, Chair. I'll go ahead and get started. Before I do, I just want to say I'm sorry if my voice goes up and down an octave or two as I'm speaking. I'm still recovering from losing my voice, and this has been a very long and horrible journey. The item before you today is the Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application for the,
in the same presentation. I'm sorry. Okay. I left something behind that I shouldn't have. It's fine. Yeah.
Alrighty, after a momentary break, we are back. So, the item before you today is Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application for the single-family residence at 900 Alameda Avenue, also known as Onondarga, built by Homer Baldridge in 1913. So I'm going to show you guys a lot of aerials today. This presentation is all about aerials, and we'll get into a little bit of why. The property is located in North Glendale at the dead end of Alameda Avenue. This is just to help us visualize as to where we're located within the city. The site is nestled in Engelhard Canyon amidst this lush woodland. Structures on the site include a 3-car garage over on the west end side that we see in this red box, with a maid's quarters that's attached to it, a pool, and the primary residence, which is where the red pin is at on the east side. And so, like I mentioned, you're going to notice a theme with all the aerials. And so now we have an old 1944 aerial. And this is to kind of show you what's going on with the whole development of this neighborhood. You can kind of see that where Onondarga is still very woodsy, it's very western, while whatever is to the east of the property is very much already developed with single-family residences. And so the neighborhood below the residence consists of one-story ranch-style homes throughout the Oakmont Woods subdivision. We'll look at another aerial shortly, of course. We must look at more aerials tonight. And just to kind of explain the history of how this developed. So in 1875, George Engelhart, who the canyon and the Edison Road is named after, purchased about 148 acres of former Verdugo family land and converted 100 acres of that to orchards and vineyards. So the canyon in which Onondarga sits in is actually named after Engelhart. And in 1900, he sold the property to members of the Sepulveda family, who then very quickly actually turned the property over and sold it to Angelino Galantino, who planted the vineyards. So could you imagine if the city of Glendale had this lush vineyard and wine community? We completely missed out on a business venture right there. And in 1912, Homer Baldridge, a Pasadena businessman who was specializing in decorative concrete outdoor vases and benches and planters, purchased the land and moved his horses there. He was actually riding through the area when he saw Galantino's land and decided to purchase it. And in the following year, in 1913, he constructed the residence and named it Onondarga, which is a Seneca term meaning on a hill. And the newspapers articles at this time that were coming out, before the property was actually built, called the property anywhere from like a mission style to a Pueblo or Aztec style building. We wouldn't really call it a mission style, but journalists didn't always have probably the best architectural terminology. But it's just an interesting point to note about when this was being built. And aside from the Baldridge family, many of the hired employees and ranch hands lived on the property too. So the photo that we're looking at on the left-hand side over here is taken about 1915, looking north from the Verdugo Mountains. And the cabin that's pictured here was built by George Engelhart in the 1870s that overlooks the canyon that we now know as the Oakmont Woods subdivision. Unfortunately, it's currently demolished. But this little cabin actually became the home of opera star Lawrence Tibbett, who was discovered in 1921 and went on to sing with the New York Metropolitan Opera. And people always mention they always heard him singing in the vineyards while he was working, which is such a romantic idea of singing in the vineyards. And he went on to have over 600 performances under his belt from 1923 to 1950. He had screen acting and radio roles as well. And he was considered one of the most important and versatile opera baritones ever. Another notable tenant of Onondarga, particularly perhaps for local history, is T.O. Potts, who opened in 1915 the very first store in Montrose, which was located at the corner of Honolulu and Verdugo Boulevards. And you can actually see the Onondarga Ranch and property located currently directly behind it in this photo. The house was also recognized as one of Crescenta Valley's signature residences. The 1928 La Crescenta brochure that was intended to be sent far and wide to advertise the neighborhood featured 12 homes, and one of them being the Baldridge residence over on the top right-hand corner. As it stands today, Onondarga is one of Glendale's oldest properties and perhaps North Glendale's oldest single-family residence that stands today. So Onondarga was a party and a social hub as well. We found these articles that kind of talks about these rooftop parties that were thrown at the time. Homer Baldridge's stepdaughter was married on the rooftop of the building, and it's just always interesting to see these advertised in old newspapers. Although during Prohibition, he had never served in the army, Homer actually gained the title of colonel. So they would say they're going to Colonel Baldridge's house for a party, which was held on the rooftop. And the rooftop, which this is a zoomed-in photo of the property from a postcard from the 1920s. You can actually see an 8-foot fireplace as well as a rooftop loggia where the parties were held. So although that no longer exists, that really shows the social and cultural aspect of, people gathering. There was a gathering spot at the time. And so here, a little bit closer, which provides a little bit more detail, you can see a lot of the original features. It looks like right above the windows, if you notice, there's some darker shaded areas. It looks like, it has high parapets. So looking at that, you can't really tell if they're attic vents or some sort of decorative feature that would have made it that Pueblo Aztec Revival architectural style. Currently, the house doesn't have that. The house architecturally has actually undergone many changes. We'll get into that a little bit more in the rest of the presentation, but it's just interesting to kind of note that, and as the property existed in the 1920s, we'll look at some of those later additions and alterations down the line in this presentation. So, in addition to its social and cultural significance within the city of Glendale, North Glendale primarily, it is also associated with this romanticized idea of the West and this Californian concept of open land and Western living, cowboys, horses, ranches. And so Onondarka Ranch became a hub for equestrian activity as well. And a lot of the descendants of the Verdugo family actually also housed their horses on site at this location. And during World War II, the property became the base of operations for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Montrose Mounted Posse that patrolled the unincorporated Crescenta Valley area at the time. And so throughout its lifetime, Onondarka was just a point of not only this Western living, but a cultural area as well for the community. And I promised more aerials, and so I'm bringing more aerials. And 1950 was actually a pretty big year for major changes for the city and Onondarka. On July 6, 1950, the city of Glendale annexed the Verdugo Hills containing Onondarka, and then later that year, a 72-year-old Homer Baldridge sold 136 acres of the ranch to developers Hyman Minkoff and Emmanuel Fagan, who shortly after demolished the equestrian facilities, which you can kind of see the evolution from 1944 to 1952. And they also demolished a lot of the remaining agricultural lands as well. And so by 1971, the neighborhood was mostly developed by those one-story ranch-style homes that we saw earlier in the presentation, which it does, again, sort of reflect back to this concept of Western living, while still taking into consideration the architectural styles that were trending at that time. And so the developers luckily spared the Baldridge's home and the gully south of the home. And in 1951, Minkoff actually gifted Onondarka to his daughter Dolores for her wedding. And something interesting to note about the development in the neighborhood is that all of the streets are named after the developers' daughters. So we have Ailenita, we have Dolores. And so she married race and car enthusiast Chester Chet Knox, who, if you guys are also familiar with Burbank, Magnolia Park specifically, he owned the automobiles and auto books and aero book store, which is a very cool store. I highly recommend checking it out if anyone hasn't. And after the owners passed, the property was sold to the current owners. Now, let's take a little bit of a tour of the property since we've talked about the history, which is so significant to the city of Glendale. I'm gonna literally walk you guys through the property, through our photos. So this is the view of the driveway leading up to the residence. It's literally a one-lane road. And as you're driving through, you're really nestled in all these gorgeous, lush, mature trees. And at some point, you encounter these two trees on either side that hugs the driveway with a positively no trespassing sign, which I absolutely adored. And as you're moving up, your first view is of the three-car driveway and the maid's quarters. This is the view of it looking northwest, and here it is with the maid's quarters towards the rear. So you can see that the parapet and the stucco blank frieze at the top has been retained. Some of the architectural features, as we discussed, which you can actually see on the photo on the bottom right hand here, has changed a little bit. So even though the overall structure generally has stayed the same, there's been an addition. It seems like if you look at the historic photo, there's stucco breaks in between each window, whereas the window that we see here now, it still seems like it has that same divided light appearance, but it's one singular window as opposed to multiple individual windows. And then next, as we're walking through the property, we also have the swimming pool. And next to the swimming pool, we actually have these bouldered light posts. And these boulders, I think this is probably the first encounter that we see on the property of these boulders. And these were actually hauled up to the site by mule train over the course of 2 weeks as they were building the property. So we see this on low walls, the foundation, and other structures on the site. And as we're walking through, those same boulders, as we can see, are continue through the low walls and the posts with the trellis over it. It would have a trellis, but it's currently removed. And you can see the running wall detail over here. We're viewing it southwest, but as you're walking up to the west elevation, you are met with the west facade. Now, what's interesting about this property is that it doesn't have a very traditional front elevation, front facade, as we would think of a house to have. It's very vernacular in its style. It's a little bit more of an unusual property. So when you're walking by, you would actually walk to the main entry on the south side of the west elevation. And here are some photos of that west elevation with some of the windows visible over here. And you can also see the low wall continuing to the primary entrance. And here we have an overall span of the south elevation. You can kind of see, again, the use of the stone at the base. I'm bringing in another aerial. I think this is going to be the last one of the presentation. But this is to kind of show a little bit of the 1966 additions that have changed the property. We already saw a little bit of the photos that had some architectural features from the original structure from the 1920s postcard that have been removed. It's probably been stuccoed over. But we do have over here, particularly in the rectangular box, you can kind of see in the old one, which is very blurry, that there must have been some sort of pad or patio there. And eventually the 1960s addition was added, which is very typical of 1960s post and beam construction. So it kind of also speaks of the time that it was constructed in while they were adding onto it. And now for a closer look, you can kind of see that on that addition, this is one of the corners of that addition, we have the jalousie windows, which is very typical of like the mid-century 1960s style, but we still have the stone, the boulders from the wash on the base. So there's layers of history at this property. Here on the east elevation, this is where predominantly it's the mid-century addition that was added. You can see the wide overhanging eaves over the patio. And the north elevation is actually almost impossible to take a look at from the exterior, just because there's such a steep hill right underneath it. But these photos also show the foundation with the original stones and a little bit of that stucco wall. This is where some of the 1960s addition is also located. And as we're wrapping around the property, this is the rear entrance at the recessed porch of the west elevation. It's the entryway into the kitchen area, and we can also see this sort of patio area that is accessed by a set of stairs right north of the primary, northwest of the primary residence. The property is being considered under Criterion 1, which is for its significance for its cultural and social impact on the development of the city of Glendale and important events within the city, and not necessarily for its architecture. And there's an acknowledgement that is particularly because of the concept of Western living and this idea of very vernacular architecture. There's been a lot of evolution over time. So even though there have been alterations because it's not being considered under Criterion 3, that's not something that really in this presentation I wanted to focus on too much, because it's the cultural significance under Criterion 1. But the property owners have provided us a Mills Act work plan that they are currently working through. There are a few projects that they're currently in the process of. There was a lot of termite damaged wood that they're in the process of restoring of. They're working with our current planners on an application for window repairs and replacement because of the deterioration. There's some floor-to-ceiling windows in the eastern wing that are going to be replaced with tempered glass. Eaves and projecting rafters around the exterior roof line that were deteriorated due to termite damage and dry rot are going to be replaced. And there's a balconette at the southeast corner that's being restored. So there's additional work that the applicants have provided, but this is kind of the most urgent ones that they're currently working on right now. And we just thought that for the purposes of the public hearing, we should bring that to the commission's attention. And also, the applicants included a work item that we wanted to discuss with the commission, which is to restore the roof loggias. Now, we have a photo, which it's not like the clearest photo, but it gives us a sense of what that roof loggia would be. And if there's additional photographs that are provided that provide us a clearer indication of what this looks like, that can definitely be something we can look at, and we can bring that to the commission. But we just also wanted to bring it to the commission's attention, just so it can be a point of discussion, since we don't have exact, precise, clear indication of it. But if the homeowners wanted to do something very similar or bring it in, it would of course require additional research coming back to the commission for design review, or perhaps if there isn't additional research, we can take a look at it from a different perspective, maybe do like a loggia that is harkens back to that time but still has a contemporary feel. So, but that's something that can be discussed now for a future project. If this was approved tonight for the Mills Act and the Glendale Register. And now, just to conclude staff's presentation on this, staff reviewed the application and the Mills Act and the Glendale Register application. They're proposing for the property to be listed under Criterion 1, and staff found the property to be eligible for listing in the Glendale Register under Criterion 1 based off the application provided, as well as additional research conducted by staff. The applicant has also submitted a work plan, which we just discussed very briefly, as part of their Mills Act application, and the staff did not have additional conditions to recommend in addition to what their work plan is. Staff and the applicants are available for any questions or discussion, and thank you for your time today.
Ani, quick question on the loggia issue. Since if we approve the designation, and to add it to the Glendale Register, it would be under Criteria 1, not Criteria 3. And since it won't be under Criteria 3, why would the owners need to be so sure of what the original loggia looked like?
So that's something that the owners of the property have put in their work plan, and I think they can speak to this a little bit more. So I don't want to speak for them, but
No, but why would it need HPC approval if we're not operating under criteria 3.
I
We're
see.
operating under history and social significance.
Right, so by the nature of it being a Glendale Register property, if there are any projects that, like at staff level, we cannot handle, it would still come to the HPC, even though we're not looking at it for architectural significance. Any changes that are done to the property would be something that we would want to review against the Secretary of the Interior standards for conformance and with the architectural style. I think Jay has something to
Yeah,
add.
thank you so
even
much for clarifying that.
We recently, I think before any of you started, designated the W.R. Burnett House, a Spanish revival house up in the hills associated with the author W.R. Burnett, who wrote some fantastic film noir books and scripts and things like that. The house is very nice, but not a great example of Spanish colonial. When we did the South Glendale survey, many craftsman properties were identified as eligible under criterion 1 rather than the architecture criterion, because they told the story of this early period of development rather than individually in a singular way having any special craftsman feel. That said, even though they're not under the architecture criterion, we want to keep the spirit of the time that they're designated for, whatever spirit of Homer Baldridge is left at Onondarka. We want that to remain. And it's an excellent question, and we were talking about it earlier because we didn't have, until an hour before the hearing, we didn't have this crisp, well, relatively clear image. We had a very blurry image. And I was like, there's no way I could figure out what this thing would be if they wanted to rebuild it. Looking at this one, when we zoom in on it, I think we could get pretty close to what was there. And so that would be the goal. And earlier, when we weren't sure, we were talking about the idea, like, what if it were made of metal to differentiate it? What if it were, so there's always room for that kind of discussion in preservation. It's often one of the most interesting things that we do, trying to figure out what's the right track to take in any situation. In this case, I think thinking about the spirit of Homer Baldridge, if he came back to life and walked up to the property, would he say, oh yeah, that's the loggia where my daughter got married, versus, oh, that's some weird modern carbuncle that someone added to my house. So that would be our goal, is to try to keep that alive. But we would have a little more latitude because it's not an architectural designation.
And to add on to Jay's point, if we can also do additional research, this was just such an exciting find right before our presentation today to find a crisper postcard image. So, who knows? I feel like every time you research, you always find something new. So perhaps there is some additional information out there.
We should say it was new to us. The owners have 3 copies of the same postcard that we
Right.
saw. We just, it wasn't included in the nomination, so we didn't know.
Thanks, Jay, because that was very useful to me, because I was getting hung up on criteria, 1 versus 3.
It's
And-
hard, and for the East, I'm sorry to do.
Oh, and this is in my watching HPC meetings, this is, I think, the first time a property has come up for the Register in the Mills Act based on number 1 rather than number 3. And
Well,
so,
the Burnett House just did
okay, but
last year.
I don't think I saw that.
Missed that one, yeah.
But, so it clarifies the whole concept of just because it's under number 1 doesn't remove the,
It's not a
historical
free-for-all.
context, yes.
Yeah.
But that's helpful for me, then I think about it correctly going forward. Thank
Yeah,
you.
And as Ani said, if the owners propose to rebuild the loggia, we'll look at it, and once a property's on the Mills Act, we are very deferential to the commission for approvals for significant changes. So I can't say what we're going to do in a year or whenever this happens, but we'd likely bring it back to the commission for approval, review and approval.
I'll open the public hearing, and I have a card here from the owners, if they'd like to speak. And it's David Schneller and Jacob, is it Stavis or Stavis?
Davis, thank you.
Stavis, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. They were on TV. Thank you for having us, commissioners. It's very nice to see you again. Just so everyone knows, we had the pleasure of walking the commissioners through the house on Sunday. So they've seen the site, they've experienced the trees and the boulders. So I guess we wanted just to speak to the reasons why we wanted to nominate the house for landmark status. I should say that we were really fortunate to be connected with Daniel Paul by actually our real estate agent. Daniel put together a really extraordinary, really deep history of this house, which we obviously, coming from the East Coast, knew that 1913 would be historic. We didn't know it would be among the oldest houses in North Glendale. But Daniel really did a really wonderful job painting this picture for us of the social events, the, let's say, naughty prohibition era parties, et cetera, et cetera. So there's the historical significance. There's the property itself, right? In 1950, the decision was made not to develop the land that this house sits on, right? That was a seemingly very conscious decision. We're viewing ourselves as the custodians of this property while it is in our hands. And I think that for us and for the North Glendale community, but really also for the Oakmont Woods community, the preservation of that land as it is really of paramount importance to us as well. Anything else?
I mean, I think something else that I would add is there's only been 2 owners of this house previously. And so, when we purchased this house, we bought it from the trust of the children of Chet and Dolores. And we've had a wonderful time sort of talking to them about their experience of this house. And the eldest son is he's an engineer. He knows a lot about the house. And he's told us a lot about what his dad didn't do to sort of keep the house in the shape that he wished it were in. So, it's been an interesting experience in terms of preservation and trying to, per David's point, be custodians of like what this property is. And I think even just going back to that first conversation about criteria on 1 versus 3, I think your confusion is merited. I think a house like this demonstrates that interesting architecture is maybe just as valuable as paradigmatic architecture. Fun fact is that David and I are both doctors of art history. And I think we both work on weird fields where we know that things deviate from norms all the time, and that's maybe what makes them worth discussing and thinking about preserving. So I think, whatever this is, I'd like to try and keep it something like that without trying to force it into one of these categories. I mean, even just, the work that we've done so far, it's been such an interesting experience looking at all the different windows that have ended up there over time and trying to figure out which one are we preserving. I don't even know if that answered the question, but yeah.
And we're happy to answer your
Take
questions.
Just so the public knows, I believe it's your acreage is approximately 6.6 acres,
That's correct. Yes.
of the original land.
Yes. So actually the neighboring plot is now a summer camp that was bequeathed or gifted by the previous owners.
Do you know which owners gifted it? Because Daniel was asking us if we knew, and I thought David mentioned it when we were there Sunday.
I'm pretty sure it was in the 1950s. It was particularly early.
There's also a Jewish summer camp.
Yeah,
not for
Schumheim
nothing,
and-
and so I think that would probably lead me to say it was Minkoff who did that.
Yeah, I think shortly after purchasing the property, he made the decision, and I think it's approximately 128 acres. I could be wrong, but we do have the deed for the camp for that transaction, so I can share that.
And your property is in 2 parcels, is that correct?
Correct.
And I learned something from Ani, because I always wondered why Shirley Jean Street was Shirley Jean. And now I know.
One of the daughters.
There's no E in it, though, per your astute eye of typos. It's spelled Shirly, Jean. Yeah.
Oh,
But the
okay.
rest of them got the Spanish treatment.
Surely Ginito is just too much.
Yeah, it didn't really flow, unfortunately. Yeah.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions for the owners?
For the roof deck, I know we talked about this when we were there and walking around. I really want to see that space come back, the active space. Have you kind of gotten any feedback from the city that that would not be possible, or
It is something we would like to do eventually. I think the primary concern right now is we're re-roofing. There is a level of insulation that we will be adding, and that will raise the level of the deck such that the parapet would require additional guardrails, yeah, to make it a compliant roof deck. So I think the plan currently is to add brackets that would permit us to add that extra height, but we're not at the phase that we're ready to actually construct a roof deck right now. We've just restored access.
Yeah, I would say that this project wasn't larger than we expected it to be, but the experience of it has been larger, maybe. So all of the things that maybe we had fantasized about 4 months ago are now 4 years in the future. So,
Yeah, once you take the roof off, you reveal things.
right. So the answer is yes, we would like to do that. We have not talked to the city about it at all.
You have a question. When was the pool built?
The pool was added in the 1960s. It's called a Lazy J. It's a very 1960s shape. And I believe, it is a new pool on the old footprint. So it is still a Lazy J.
There was another pool that is closer to where the current community pool is that was essentially wiped out in a flood.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always been a swimming hub as well.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I have some questions for staff.
Are we dismissed?
Oh, you're free to sit down, and you can also come back if you want to. Jay, I have a question about the Mills Act. Again, this is 6.5 or 6.6 acres of property. Would the Mills Act really runs in perpetuity with subsequent owners. Would Mills Act designation prevent this property from ever being subdivided in the future?
Okay. We're building our team. So generally, when we designate multi-parcel properties, we just did this with the Derby House by Lloyd Wright, which has 5 parcels maybe. Only the parcel that's built on is part of the Mills Act contract. So it doesn't necessarily protect future subdivision. And there has been concern, when I started, there was another property that someone on staff was very concerned about in terms of receiving a tax benefit for unbuilt land that doesn't require the maintenance and the upkeep that the Mills Act exists to provide owners assistance with. So in general, no. I'm not sure how large the parcel with the house is, but hopefully it's large enough to.
Do the owners know the split between the 2 parcels approximately in terms of size?
It's approximately evenly split.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Well, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you. And just in terms of our discussion, and for anybody who's watching, the application, included, a tremendous history that was so well documented by Chair Paul. in his capacity as an independent historic preservationist. But, and it's on the website, you know, in the materials for anyone to read. But it's an incredible history of the site from its earliest days with incredible documentation and references. So, you know, I'm not going to go into any of those details. Ani did a great presentation, but I just want to reference that there is this really substantive document of the history of this property that, you know, that's what my decision is based on, to declare it, you know, eligible for the Glendale Register and the Mills Act. And anybody who wants to learn more about the property, I suggest they, you know, read that report that Daniel did.
I loved being able to tour your property. It was so special. And I said this to you when I met you, and I believe the way I said it was, I'm so glad the house found owners that appreciates it so much. And I think I'm sticking with that phrasing. I feel like the house found you, and I can tell that you guys see yourselves as custodians of it and that you love it and you love the history. And so I'm really glad that, I think you guys are the perfect owners, and I'm glad that you guys have the house.
Yeah, I had the opportunity, obviously, to tour the property, and it's evident that the owners are committed to preservation for the property. The care they are taking to maintain the architectural integrity of the home is super clear to me. A nomination of the Glendale Register Historic Resources paired with the Mills Act application demonstrates not just an interest in, you know, the designation, but a long-term kind of investment into the property's stewardship. Right, so it's important that we support these types of initiatives where kind of it's a partnership with the city to make sure that we encourage people to think about their property and maintain their property, and kind of for the future generations. This is a kind of, I mean, I obviously support their application for the Mills Act, as well as designation and the contract for the Mills Act.
I have to say, you know, whether they're postcards or old photographs are so compelling, because it's one thing to read, well, it was an equestrian location, but when you see like the rodeo rink, it's huge. And you see the number of people attending on the sides, and you see the size of the type of events they could put on. It wasn't just, oh, somebody rode a horse up a path here. And, I mean, it amazed me. And then when it was agricultural, the extent of the agricultural land. But those old photographs really bring the history of the property and the importance of its history. You know, it just makes it so clear. So I'm glad we have those documents. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking, so kudos to you guys. But I must say the driveway is kind of the way you come up to the property is so unique in I mean, California or Los Angeles specifically.
Yeah, right in the middle of the city.
Yeah. You're the bear.
Of course. You doing the backstroke?
Jay, I have another question on the Mills Act. I know on properties under designation 3, typically there'll be a list of scheduled work and the timeline for completing it, and, you know, this was more general, and I assume that that's the way to go on this, but it's a little different than what I've seen before is the only reason I'm asking.
Yeah, we've had a few different types of properties over the years. There are some that are just in great condition, don't need any conditions. This house not only has so much work that needs to be done, but as you peel the onion, God knows, sorry to say, but you know, it would be hard for us sitting here to say that the conditions, you know, that they're already working on the windows. If I had just toured the house, I would have said, well, the existing windows are working, But because it's not the architectural significance, and we've approved the window program that they're planning to do, that kind of work we can handle piecemeal at staff level probably better than putting conditions on it, but you are the bosses. And if you were more comfortable putting conditions on any of the things that are on the work list, you could certainly do that. And so this one is a little different, you're right.
Personally, I'd rather give the owners the flexibility, on what they renovate and what order they renovate in. So I just asked the question because it was a little different than some
Yeah,
things
no,
I've seen.
You're right, and I agree with you.
We got to get them in the house first.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to put 900 Alameda Avenue on the Historic Register, as well as give the owners a Mills Act contract.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have roll call, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Durham. Commissioner Cusack,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartanian,
Yes.
and Chair for the day, Durham.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you so much, and the motion passes 3-0. Congratulations on your Mills Act contract and Glenville Register recommendation, because next step is City Council. All right.
Congratulations. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 8, Community Development Department updates, if there are any, Jay.
Yeah, we didn't agendize any for this month, and there's a lot of stuff brewing with AB 130 and different things happening, but we don't have enough information at this point to share anything that's meaningful. And last month, we updated on the survey. The survey's continuing. We're not going to give you an update every month on the survey because it's going to take a while, but the East-West survey is continuing, the Cleveland Knoll survey is continuing for the Historic District, and the Verdugo Woodlands funding for that survey will be coming to City Council in the near future.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you know how SB 79 will be affecting historical districts if that passes through?
That one's not in my head.
Okay, the one that will rezone near certain public transportation?
Well, so many of these things are like changing zoning or changing parking requirements or whatever. I don't know SB 79.
SB 79 is still at the Assembly level. It's moved out of committee, though. The Assembly, I think, will be voting on it in August.
Okay.
And so, for instance, the BRT that's going to come down Glen Oaks,
We do have to be careful when something's not agendized to not.
Oh, sorry.
We could talk, generally, but.
That's all right. It's basically a proposal to upzone areas that are near mass transit stops, if I'm allowed to say that.
Sure. Yeah.
And item 9, is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, we're now adjourned
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much,
at
everyone.
7:33 PM. Thank you.
Oh, you're being.
And Kenny Metcalf, the